Welcome back to The Book Stop. I'm so excited to talk about today's episode. Fair warning moving forward, this podcast does contain spoilers as we go over major events within the novels. Before we get into it, don't forget to follow us on Apple, Spotify, and Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast. All right. Well, welcome back. Not welcome back to you. This is your first time on the podcast, but for the listeners, welcome back. Today we are joined with my friend Tim. Tim,
Hi.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody what book you brought today.
Of course. I'm Tim. I brought Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, my favorite book ever.
Awesome. I personally have never read this book. I did see the movie a long time ago. It's been years since I've seen the movie, but to get started, we're going to talk about the author just a little bit. So his name is Charles Lutwig Dodgson, is his real name, but he goes by the pen name Lewis Carroll.
Oh, Carroll.
Carroll. So he published Alice in Wonderland in 1865. Literally had no idea. I would have said at least 900s. I didn't think it was past
That's what
that.
I thought. Oh my god.
Yeah. So his kind of style is called literally literature nonsense, which is kind of a cool way. I didn't know that was a thing. So where it's literally you're writing pretty much nonsense. And that's how I would describe this book, yeah.
I completely agree. That makes complete sense.
Yeah. So before we get into it, I like to play a little game. Just, right out the bat.
Fun. I'm excited.
All right. You are going to give the summary of this book in 30 seconds.
Oh my god.
But, plot twist, you're going to summarize it backwards.
Backwards?
So from end to beginning.
Oh my. Okay.
And then your time starts now.
Okay, so pretty much from the last part of the book, there was the trial scene where, at first it was the Mad Hatter on trial. I don't remember if the March Hare was too, but then it all went to Alice, and Alice was on trial trying to defend herself. Going back a little bit more, we're in the croquet scene with the Queen. Tumble back a little bit more. She's trying to find her way, still figuring out her height. She gets called a serpent by a bird. That was a fun time. Back a little bit more, she meets the caterpillar that smokes.
The hookah. Yeah.
That's where she finds out how to control her height a little bit better. All the while she's trying to figure out how to get to the beautiful garden, which is the croquet set. Going back a little bit more, there's this caucus race with just a bunch of animals that you can find on the coast, like a dodo. Oh my god.
Okay, that's
back a little bit.
Time.
Huh?
Time.
Okay.
I'll let you go a little bit more.
Oh.
Yeah, I like to play this game because I think it's pretty fun to watch people struggle.
There's just so much to cover that I feel is so important, but at the same time, it's not all that important. But
yeah, that's why I do 30 seconds because I don't want you to get in too detail because we're going to talk about it throughout the podcast. But yeah, so I think that was pretty fun. You did a good job.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to give a summary really quick. So Alice in Wonderland is a story of a young girl who follows a rabbit down the rabbit hole and goes through a bizarre, abnormal adventure to find her way out. She encounters many creatures and plays a game of croquet. Is it croquet? Croquet?
They say croquet.
Yeah.
I think that's how they say it in
the book.
England.
Okay.
Or in the book, at least.
Yeah.
At that time period.
Yeah, so she plays a game of croquet with the Queen. In the end, it was all a dream, and she returns to the tree where her sister lies. So yeah, it was a very, how should I put this?
It's interesting.
It's interesting, to say the least. But let's get into it. Before we start anything else, let's say our favorite lines. You can go first.
My absolute favorite thing, I give myself very good advice, but I very seldom follow it. And I think about that so much because same.
Yes. Yes, that's a good line. Yeah, I agree. And my favorite's always telling people advice, but then also not following it yourself. I have a bad habit of doing that.
Me too.
Yeah. My favorite line was towards the end of the book where Alice, or no, was it Alice? I honestly can't remember who said it, but towards the end of the book when it says, I don't see how he can ever finish if he doesn't begin. Which I think is a good it's a good statement, because like, how can you ever expect to move forward and to advance if you can't get enough, like, get going, get started.
Very true. A very deep find in a very nonsensical book.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, it is a very nonsensical. There's like a lot of nonsense that happens, but there are some good messages in this story. So I'm excited to talk about them. Let's start at the beginning of the book. So Alice is, chilling with her sister, and she finds the rabbit, and she kind of chases after him. Now, one thing I noticed of Alice is that she doesn't think before she reacts to anything.
Right.
Which makes sense. She's 7 years old. So I don't know any 7-year-olds that logically think about anything. So
exactly.
So I see that happening, but as a character in a book, it puts her through like a lot of unnecessary things that it's hard, because this book is literally called like nonsense. So it's hard to like judge it, because that's the purpose of the book. But there was a lot of things that just I felt like weren't necessary, that didn't really add to the story.
Right. There were a lot of things that, like, in this book, they didn't add in, like, the movie adaptation, which I guess, like, they deemed unimportant, but it's something fun to, like, or at least this is how I take it. I think it's fun to, kind of take a break from the main story and be like, okay, what's going on over here? Because all of these people in Wonderland have lives.
Yeah, so speaking of like the characters' lives in Wonderland, so obviously it's all a dream, so everything kind of connects back to Alice and how her imagination kind of created these events and these ideas for these characters. But I really liked in Wonderland how like the abnormal was their normal. Like how everything was crazy, but it was normal to them. Like they didn't see it as crazy.
Like literally straight out of the mind of a elementary schooler.
Yeah. So another thing I want to talk about is it happened kind of throughout the whole book, but mostly in the beginning when she's talking about like her identity. And one big issue Alice seemed to have was like trying to figure out who she was, which is like a very deep thought for a 7-year-old.
Right.
First off, I want to say I feel so bad for poor Mabel that just got owned in the story. She like called her dumb and all this mean things, and then she was like trying to tell us like a math equation, and then she's like couldn't figure out the answer, and she's like, wait a second, maybe I am dumb, maybe I am Mabel. And I was like, oh my god, that's so sad.
Well, I can't add anything to help Mabel. She just got completely wrecked. But I noticed that too. I was thinking about that when I was going over it the last time I was reading it, and it seemed to me like she was certain of who she was, and then she went down here, and then she's rediscovering who she is again with all the nonsense.
Exactly. Yeah. Like she's seeing herself through like different eyes, especially with like, I think it has to tie in with like how she kept growing and literally changing. Like her body kept changing up and down, and she's just trying to figure out who she is, and she's really hard on herself. I noticed that too. Like she's so kind to other people. She's constantly saying like, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon, like, I don't mean to come off this way, but she's so aggressively hard on herself.
She's very polite. She talks about all of the things she does in like her schooling and all of that. I remember like that conversation later in the book with the griffin and
the mock turtle.
The mock turtle, yes. And they were talking about the different types of schooling, and they thought Alice didn't go through enough.
Yeah.
Because they didn't teach them, what was it, cleaning? Cleaning,
yeah. The ocean floor or something like that. But yeah, I agree. I did not like the mock turtle at all.
A little pretentious.
Yeah. Before we get into it, who was your favorite character?
Oh my goodness. My favorite character has always been Alice.
Alice, why?
Which is like a basic choice, but reading through it when I was like so little and watching the movie when I was little, I'm like, wow, that's really relatable. I like her. And she's just been my favorite character since, but like a nice close second is the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah, that's my second, or that's my first. That's who I liked. I like the cat because he's very detached, and he's very clear-headed, and he has like a simple logic. He's like, yes means yes, no means no. There's nothing abnormal going on here. Like,
Right.
He's the only one with his head on.
He's the sanest person in there.
Exactly.
Which, only one with his head on, but off sometimes.
Exactly. Or just not having a body or anything like that. But yeah, I really liked him. I thought he was, even in the movies, I really liked him too. He was my favorite character in the movies too. But I might just be lenient because I like cats, so.
But that may be the case as well.
Maybe if it was a dog, I wouldn't like him as much.
I don't think it would make as much sense for a dog to be in a tree, though.
Well, nothing makes sense in Wonderland.
You know what? That's fair. I forgot what book we were talking about for a second there.
Exactly. One thing... Okay, so I really like this book. I will start with that. It was a very interesting read, something I've never read before, and I really liked trying something new. But what I didn't like was all the unnecessary, like, interruptions throughout the story. Right when it starts going, and you're like, oh, finally, okay, we're moving on from this one part that we've been on for, like, 2 chapters. And I'm like, yes, finally. And then something else happens, and it stops her from moving on in the story, which I get. You want to get that word count. I get it. I've written a few things. But at the same time, you have to make sure that you're, telling a story and that you can keep your readers involved in that story.
Right.
So.
Like, you're progressing in the story and then Alice is reciting poems or, like, the things she needed to memorize for school, or the Mock Turtle sings a song, a literal whole song.
There was multiple songs in
there
this.
There were multiple songs.
So, yeah, I was like, I understand if you want to put a song, put a verse or two. That's completely fine. But to do a whole song, and I listened to the audiobook to this, and they sang the entire song so slow. I was like, please, I don't need this right now. And did it even have a message? I don't know. I wasn't even listening. I was like, okay, let's go. But yeah, that was the one thing I didn't really like that much about it. But other than that, I tried to come in with an open mind. I was like, let's learn something new. Let's try something new. So.
That's fair. I don't think the interruptions bothered me quite as much as they might have bothered you, but I have, even now, still the wildest imagination. So even though it took so many different, like, turns or stops, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I wasn't thinking about what that turtle over there was doing, but now I am.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you kind of think outside of the box a little bit. It puts a little perspective on, like, the world around us almost. Like, I don't know how deep you want to get in this topic, but...
You just got real deep with it.
Oh, just wait. I have more topics that get real deep.
Oh.
But, yeah, it puts some perspective around us of, like, how other people view the world compared to how we view the world. And how we might think something is normal, and then to another person, that is completely abnormal and doesn't make any sense. And, seems a little bit like we're in Wonderland ourselves.
Now more than ever, I feel.
Especially now more than ever, yeah. Yeah, this recording is coming out in 2021. Almost a year into the pandemic, but...
Oh, goodness.
We won't get into it.
Yeah, that's enough of that for now, I'd like to say.
So, when you saw the rabbit, what was your kind of thought throughout the story of this rabbit? Like, what did it symbolize to you? I want to see how your answer compares to mine.
Well, thinking about it, like, the white rabbit showing up in every scene, I feel like a way to carry it along, kind of like, okay, This scene's done. She's gonna follow that rabbit into the next one now. Yeah,
I like that. It's a little segue into the next chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I could see where you're coming with that idea, because it was literally every single scene he was in it at the end, so... When I first read it, like the first few chapters, I was like trying to make connections on things, and I felt like the rabbit almost connected to like fate or like destiny, and like how she's trying to follow fate and destiny throughout her adventures in Wonderland. And I was hoping at the end the rabbit would kind of take her somewhere that was like really good, that was at the end where it kind of, I guess it could take her home too, either one. But it kind of like fell through, and he was at the trial, and there wasn't much to it at the end. So I don't know.
Right. It was a very different ending than what I feel people usually expect, which is something I like, because it's like, okay, you'd expect maybe the White Rabbit to lead her home or something like that, but it's just like, trial scene, over. We're back over where she started.
Yeah. Do you think he chose to have this end in a dream? Like, she wakes up in a dream because he couldn't figure out a way out of the story? And he has, or was that his true intentions the entire time, to make it a dream?
You know, that is a good, like, suggestion. Like, I don't know how to end this. It's a dream, period.
It's a very big, like, it's a big trope, is like having stories end in a dream. And because then nothing ever really happens. Like, for example, Breaking Dawn, when Alice has, did you see Breaking Dawn? I don't want to give any spoilers out, but it's been years.
Well, I haven't, but also tell me anyway.
No, so at the end, Alice, okay, so do you know who Alice is?
Yeah.
Okay, so she has a vision where there's this big battle and, you know, a lot of main characters die. And at the end, she takes, like, her hand away and it's all just a vision and it's not real. And a lot of movies do that, where they use dream sequences to tell a story without it affecting the world around them.
Well, something funny about that, too, is at the end of this book, if you remember, like, Alice goes back to her house or whatever, and her older sister's sitting there, and she sees, like, the March Hare, I think he said, in, like, a pool or somewhere, like, she sees the White Rabbit pass her by, and then, like, a bunch of creatures from from Wonderland show up for her, too, and I thought that was kind of cool, because it's, like, it was a dream, but it's also, like, not a dream.
Yeah, like, it's all, I like that all the aspects from the dream of the story was also in, like, the world around her, so it made it feel more real for her. So, yeah, I agree, I do like that. It would have been cool if, like, a griffin, like, flew by.
That would have been.
You're like, what world are we in?
I was in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland as a play in high school.
Oh, tell us.
And they had the Griffin casted both as the Griffin, and then Alice's older sister.
Oh.
Which I thought was kind of cool.
I like that. I like that idea of having...
Yeah.
It's almost, it kind of gives me, like, Wizard of, what is it called? Wizard of Oz vibes. Where, I'm not a huge fan of Wizard of Oz, I'm gonna say it. But, aren't, like, the characters, like, people in her lives or something? Like,
yeah, it was
lions,
like the Tin Man, the lion. They were all people she's, like, met before. Like, the witch was this one lady that she just didn't like.
The neighbor, right? It was her neighbor, yeah. So, yeah, this book gave me a lot of, like, Wizard of Oz vibes, for sure. So, and if you're looking for that podcast in the future, I'm gonna tell you right now, not gonna happen. Because I don't even know if Wizard of Oz is a book, but I ain't reading it. I hate Wizard of Oz. It's like a childhood nightmare for me. Those freaking stupid monkeys that always flew around scared me.
Oh, those monkeys.
And I had these realistic dolls in my room when I was a kid of Wizard of Oz, and they just, like, hung over my bed, so I think that might be why I hate it, but...
Oh my god. See, it's hard for me to hate it, mostly because I love Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and then...
Solid.
Wicked.
Yeah, solid song. So, moving on, what is your favorite relationship from this story?
This was a hard one for me, because there's so many fleeting relationships that happen in that book. Mostly, like, with Alice.
Yeah.
Like, all of the ones I could think of were mostly with Alice, and one that I thought of was, like, Alice and herself.
Okay.
Because, like, bringing it back to what we were talking about before, like, kind of what I said about her finding herself again, it was, like, her thinking she knew who she was, but at the same time, she's like, who am I? I'm still figuring that out. So the internal conflict, like, relationship, like, man versus self.
Yeah, I like that. I didn't even think about
Throwing
that.
it back to English class a little bit.
A little bit of, like, high school right there.
Right.
Yeah, because throughout the whole story, there's, like, different stages that Alice goes through where she's trying to figure out herself. And I think that's one of the biggest, like, themes of this book is, you know, Alice and the battle with herself. So, yeah, I like that. I went basic, and I said my favorite was the Mad Hatter and the March Hare with the tea party. I liked that they... First of all, savages. I really like that. Not as savage as the queen, which we're going to talk about in a second, but
right.
yeah, I like that they just like love frustrating Alice, and they were always like just bouncing off of each other. I think they had a good dynamic, and
the utter chaos from both of them and the tea party scene in specific, just my favorite.
Yes, that was a good scene. I really liked how they kind of told it as like, you know, they were kind of stuck in a time loop where they were constantly having tea and then they had to keep switching seats, which was very interesting. But yeah, I really like that scene. Didn't Johnny Depp play the Mad Hatter in the Alice?
In the live action one, yes.
Yes. And that's amazing. I think that's perfect.
I didn't care much for the live action one except for Johnny Depp and maybe Anne Hathaway as the White Queen.
Yes. Didn't who played the queen? The Queen of Hearts was Helena.
Remember.
Is her name Helena? She was in Harry Potter.
See, the head throws me off.
Yeah, the head throws you off. I'll look it up later. But yeah, so I really like that scene in that relationship. That one's my favorite. Speaking of like the Queen of Hearts, she was a lot.
The big head in the live action is a great representation of her.
Yeah, I agree. Another thing I noticed in the story was the presence of like death everywhere, pretty much, which is very dark, but like how she at the beginning said that she was literally drowning in her own tears until the rat came around, and then she started telling the story of like the dog and the cat that kept killing the rats, and
right.
And then towards the end when the queen just kept saying off with their heads the entire time.
And then her like threatening to sick Dinah on all of the caucus racers.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was like, whoa, that's a bit harsh, but okay. For a 7-year-old? Woo. But, yeah, I didn't hate the queen. I thought she was a bit much, but I thought she was a very interesting character. Because when you see a queen, usually they are very...
very even-tempered.
Yeah, even-tempered. They're very, almost like docile. Like, they lead more with their voice and their knowledge than really like their emotions. Even though a lot of people say, you know, women are emotional, but not really. Like, queens were usually they stuck to their smarts, and she very much leads through her emotions, and that emotion is anger.
Right. And something I thought of, which, not gonna lie, just thought of it, but I think it's very profound.
Go ahead.
Something that I hear, like, a lot of royalty in, like, the media or books say is don't lose your head. Mm-hmm. Every time she loses her head, she makes someone else lose theirs, literally.
Literally, yeah. Exactly. I just think it's also funny that she's the Queen of Hearts, and you would, connect hearts with love and compassion.
Someone more compassionate.
Yeah, empathy, but nah. She's straight up, like, off with their heads.
No, that was the King of Hearts. He was compassionate.
He was kind of a pushover, but yeah, he was compassionate.
Oh my gosh. He's a pushover in any rendition that's made of this. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I need to rewatch the Alice in Wonderland live action. Maybe I'll watch it after, but
don't think he was in the live action, honestly.
Really?
The animated movie
okay, yeah.
was hilarious because he was tiny and the queen was like
big
compared to him, like a giant,
a thick mama.
Yes,
a thick shoulder,
if you will.
If you had to cast the King of Hearts in the Alice in Wonderland, who would you pick?
Like real life actors?
Yeah, who would you pick?
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh.
On the spot.
I don't know. I'm trying to, like...
It could be anyone.
What's his name? Who's the guy that plays Scott Pilgrim?
Scott Pilgrim?
What's his name? You remember Scott Pilgrim versus the World or whatever?
Michael Cera?
Michael Cera. I would love to see Michael Cera as the King of Hearts.
God, he would... he needs to be a little bit older, but yes, absolutely. I would love that. I was gonna say somebody like Jimmy Fallon. I could see him pulling it off. I don't know why, but that was just the first person.
Or James Gordon.
Oh my god, I was gonna say him too, James Gordon. He was my second option. He could do it too, but I feel like maybe he'd be a better fit because he's done like movies and stuff.
Theater.
So, yeah, so he's gonna have a little bit more experience and he can play the role the way he wants to. So would you say, in like your own personal view and your own personal like decisions, would you say there is any missed opportunities or anything that you would have done differently in the story? I'll go first, so it gives you an idea.
Yeah, go first. I'm gonna think.
Okay, no problem. So I think, in my own personal view, like I said earlier, if there was just a little bit less interruptions in the story, like if you want to kind of drag it out a little bit more, then give it a little bit more purpose than to be like make it somehow tie into the story. And there was a lot of times when he just kept repeating stuff too, and it wasn't anything that was like important. So usually when you do repetition in a story, it's because it's either one wants to really drive a point, or two it's going to come back in the past or in the future, sorry. But yeah, neither of those happened. So I was like, okay, I don't love that. But other than that, I think it's a good story for this type of style of story. I think it hit the nail on the head.
I truly can't find any missed opportunities, but like I've been watching this story, reading this story for like almost my entire life, so I've kind of painted it as like there's nothing wrong with this story. It is perfect as is.
Mm-hmm. That's totally fine. That's your opinion. Just kidding.
Not that it matters, but it is my opinion.
Yeah, of course. Like if you don't see anything wrong with it, like for example, I think How to Train Your Dragon is probably absolute masterpiece, and there's not a single thing I would change about it. But that's my opinion. So yeah, so all I have really left is we have a game to play.
Okay.
All right. Today we're going to do riddles. So riddles were a big thing in Alice in Wonderland, and pretty much reading this whole story was a riddle. So I thought it was perfect.
That's true.
I have 5 here for you, and just see how many you get right. Number 1. I'm tall when I'm young and short when I'm old. What am I?
Tall when I'm young and short when I'm old?
Yeah. Don't Google this. You better not be holding your phone.
I'm not. Promise. Tall when I'm young, short when I'm old. The first thing I thought of was like a flower, because like flowers wilt.
Okay.
Am I in the right ballpark?
Not really.
No.
I'll let you have 3 guesses on each one.
Okay.
I'll read it one more time for you. I'm tall when I'm young and short when I'm old. What am I?
I don't know.
Do you give up? Or...
I'm gonna give up, but I'm gonna kick myself once I hear it, I'm sure.
Okay. The answer is a candle.
Oh my...
Like a candlestick.
Oh.
Good try. Number 2. What has hands but cannot clap?
A clock.
Yes. Good job.
Look at me.
Look at you. What begins with E but only contains 1 letter? I just want to remind everyone, these were riddles for kids.
Stop. That's not nice.
No, I'm just kidding. It was just labeled easy riddles, and I was reading these and I was like, no, they're not. These are so hard. But I wanted to see if I was just an idiot, so.
I was about to say, I already know I'm not smarter than a 5th grader anymore, so... It starts with E and only contains 1 letter.
Yep, it begins with E and only contains 1 letter. You have 3 guesses.
It begins with E and only contains 1 letter. Earth? Because it contains the C.
Ooh, close. That's a good guess. It's not close, actually, but good guess. I would have said... I wouldn't have said anything, because I'm not good at riddles, but that's a really good guess.
That was, like, the most profound thing I've, like, honestly thought of in years. I used 100% of my brain for that.
I need you to use 101 for this answer.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I'm going to read it one more time, but listen closely.
Okay.
It begins with E and only contains one letter.
Can I ask for a hint? Like, are we talking about, like, something that... I don't... You know what? I'm gonna give up. I already gave a good answer. I wish that was the answer, but...
Okay, fine. It's an envelope. It begins with E and it contains one letter.
I was going through the whole alphabet in my head. I'm like, okay, what sounds right?
I did like the Earth one. That's a good one. Okay. What disappears as soon as you say its name?
I've heard this one before. Silence.
Yes. Very good. Okay, this is the last one. This one's a little hard. It's a little bit long too, so bear with me.
Oh, goodness.
Only one color, but not one size. Stuck at the bottom, yet easily flies. Present in the sun, but not in the rain. Doing no harm and feeling no pain. What am I? See, these longer ones I feel like mess you up more because it gives you more information to think about. I can read it again if you want me to.
One color but many sizes.
Mm-hmm. Stuck at the bottom.
Stuck at the bottom but easily flies.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's present in the sun but not in the rain.
Mm-hmm. Doing no harm and feeling no pain. What am I?
Okay, I'm a... Is it a cloud?
Close.
No, because they're not stuck at the bottom. It was close, though?
You're getting there.
I'm getting there. Is it a plane?
No.
Or a kite?
No. I'm going to read it one more time, okay? Only one color, but not one size. Stuck at the bottom, yet easily flies. Present in the sun, but not in the rain. Doing no harm and feeling no pain. I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It's something that has to deal with you, yourself, your body.
Me and my body? Scandalous. Okay, does it have to do with, like, your emotions? No? What is it? Wait.
Okay, it's a shadow.
Okay. I mean, that just rocked my world right there.
You gotta start practicing more riddles here.
I guess.
Yeah, so is there anything else that you can think of that we didn't talk about that you want to bring up?
There were some things that, like, you know how there was the animated movie, right?
Yeah, with the blonde, like, blue dress, Alice.
The blonde
like
Alice
the
blue dress, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think this one was made in the 90s, like the 90s Disney Alice in Wonderland, which is the first one I ever saw. And that's what got me into it. But, there were some things in that weren't in,
the book?
Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if, like, they're things they took from Alice Through the Looking Glass. But there was, I could be so wrong and I'm forgetting. But there's the, story about the walrus and the oysters. It was, like, a walrus walks along the shore, and then he ends up going into the water, and he finds some oysters, some baby oysters with their mother.
Mm-hmm.
And he convinces them to... Walrus and the Carpenter, that's what it is.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway, the Walrus and the Carpenter have no food.
Mm-hmm.
So, going back to what I was saying, the walrus finds the oysters at the bottom of the sea with their mother, and he convinces them to come back home with them, because he's like, I'm going to make a meal, and you guys are going to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, he ends up cooking the oysters and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who told... Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Oh, yeah, they're not in the book. Are they?
They're
in the
not in
second
this one, so I'm not positive because I didn't have the attention span to go through to Alice in the Looking Glass, through the Looking Glass, so I don't know if they're in that one. But there was Tweedledee and Tweedledum telling that story. I don't know if they told another one, but there was also Alice makes it to the beautiful garden, but she's still shrunk.
Mm.
And, like, all of the flowers can talk and they sing like a beautiful song.
I remember that, yeah. That was in the movie.
That was in the movie.
Yeah, I remember that too, yeah. So yeah, it's probably a tie between the two of them, because the first one's probably not long enough. And plus they probably took some stuff out. I have to rewatch it, because I don't remember
Alice's sister wasn't in the Disney movie either.
No, she wasn't, yeah.
You just find her and Dinah sitting alone by that tree.
Mm-hmm.
At the start of it. I'm trying to think if there were any other differences.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Did you read the second book?
Through the Looking Glass?
Yeah, did you read it at all?
No, I didn't have the attention span to yet.
Okay, cool. Because I do want to introduce a new segment on the Book Stop where we talk about sequels. And I usually only want to do it when we both haven't read the story, or if one of us has read it, that's fine. But this way we could both play. So I've never read the Through the Looking Glass. So what are some things you think is going to happen in the second one?
So just like from context clues already, and like my knowledge of, like, I didn't even see when Disney made the live action Alice Through the Looking Glass. So I'm thinking, like, I'm assuming she's still going to be a child.
Yeah.
While this is taking place. She finds herself at this mirror and she's going to touch the mirror. She finds herself in another Wonderland-like world. Maybe it's not Wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
Could be. I'm hoping that she, like, finds Tweedledee and Tweedledum there, because I love them with my entire soul. Honestly, with Lewis Carroll, I can't even begin to guess at what could happen, because it could literally be anything.
Exactly, especially with this, like, type of style he does. I feel like Through the Looking Glass, I'm feeling, like, Stranger Things vibes, like, a whole, like, upside down world, so maybe, like, I'm guessing she's probably, like, a little bit older, maybe a few years older, and she's going to, like, go through the Looking Glass, and it's gonna be, like, her world, but flipped. And I feel like we're gonna see some more characters from the past, like the cat and the queen's probably coming back, or maybe there's other queens, like the diamonds, the spades, and the club. Like, maybe we'll see them. But yeah, so I think it's gonna, I don't know, it's really hard with this type of thing, because he can literally do whatever he wants, and no one can say anything to him. So yeah, so I think maybe something like along the lines of that, like kind of like a flipped universe type deal. Alternate universe, if you will.
Yeah.
So, well, we're kind of closing up here. I don't have anything else really to add. It's a very short book. I want to say the audiobook's like 2 hours long, so...
The audiobook I found was like an hour and a half, I want to say.
Yeah, it's very short, a short book. We probably should have did both of them, but that's okay.
I mean...
No worries. But let's give it let's do the rating scale. So this is your first time on the Book Stop, and we do a different rating scale than normal. I'll go first. So I would rate this book, Alice in Wonderland, 1 uninvited guest to a revolving tea party of 3.
Okay.
That's what I would rate it. Like, I liked it. It had a good message. It had an idea, but it just wasn't delivered the way I personally like it. So, but
okay,
it could be someone's cup of tea, if you will.
Yes, my cup of tea.
You're pulling up your blueberry cup of tea.
Yes.
It's not blueberry tea. It's literally a tea
it's
in a
orange tea
in a blueberry cup.
Yes.
We love.
I would rate this, I would say, a whole deck of card soldiers.
Yes.
Like a full deck,
A full deck. Gotcha. All right. You love this story.
I do.
This is your
I really do.
number 1. I'm sorry. I hope I wasn't too harsh on your favorite story.
No, you're you're good. I understand it's not everyone's favorite.
It's not what?
It's not everyone's favorite.
It's not what? It's not everyone's cup of tea? Come on.
It's not everyone's cup of tea.
I set you up and you still didn't say it.
No thoughts, head empty.
Oh, elevator music behind eyes. Gotcha.
Yes.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else that you want to talk about, I appreciate you taking the time to come onto the Book Stop. It was fun.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Of course. You are coming back, I want to say June? You're coming back in Pride Month. So,
Heck yeah.
heck yeah. So we got a really nice book. I'm really excited. I haven't read this book yet, and I've been wanting to. It's been on my wish list. So I have to come back in June, figure out what episode he's on, and Tim will be back. Yeah.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yay.
Bye.
Thank you for turning the pages with us this week. If you've enjoyed this episode, show your support on social media. Don't forget to turn on your notifications to get a reminder of the next episode. Thanks again for listening to The Book Stop. Bye!